I have some 6x6 pine. We're gonna make it into a mailbox. Mine keeps getting hit by the snowplow. So that should be sturdy enough. They're almost 1/8 of an inch out, which is something I should have caught, but we're here now. So I've got two fairly clean sections for where most of my joinery is going to be, avoiding the main, either containing the knots in the middle and keeping them away from the joinery. So that's what I'm going to do right now, is rough cut it. I'm just going to leave that one long, just in case. It's the next day. This is the knot square post. This one's pretty good. So if any funny business needs to happen, it's going to be here. This is going to be down because it's got this real bad ugly spot. So this will be my top. Okay. It's been a while since I've done timber framing. What I typically do, because these are rough sawn, so it goes from, these are 6x6, but this is 6 1/16 heavy. That's about 6. It's kind of in and out, plus or minus a 1/16. What I like to do is measure a center mark at the top, center mark at the bottom, and give yourself a clean, straight reference mark for all of your joinery. That way, when you're squaring off of, when you're trying to get a square joint, you're going off of a reference plane. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. I've got plans on my phone. That's what it's going to look like. Pass through at the top. This is for accepting the brace. So we're going to lay that top pass through out. 10 inches down to the start. And I'll measure my height for the actual piece. We're going to come in into this face 1 inch, and then a 2-inch tenon all the way through. You're gonna get all dusty, buddy. Yeah, you're all dusty. I need to sharpen these and probably get a bigger one. This is only a 3/4, I think. So this is all of a 16th heavy out of square. I don't have the equipment to square it up, so I'm just gonna center it, my tenon. So it'll be a little off here and a little off here, but this should be flush with the side of my post. What can you do? If I had a planer, I could shim the planer up and bring it down to size, but I don't, so we're just gonna work with it. It's a little tight. I don't know if it would ever come apart. I have a terrible cold, so if I snivel the entire video, and yesterday I did too, so that's why. Today we're going to be cutting the mortises to accept these into both the post and the beam. I'm going to start on the beam because it'll be underneath, so if I need a refresher on anything and it shows, I'll have some practice before I have to cut in the bottom one, which will be more visible. So I'm going to start with the beam get that laid out. It's been about maybe like a year since I've done any timber framing, so there's things you forget. So just to double check myself, I'm gonna go over to my brace, 1/2 inch. It says 8.5. Eight and a half. Okay. So it's always good to double check. Then you feel confident. Sharpened up this chisel this morning, or I tried to. I don't have any fancy chisel sharpener. I just got a whetstone. 400 and 1000 grit for my broadheads that I shoot on my bow. But it cuts hair now. It had, one of the guys I worked with hit a screw with it, I think. So it had some pretty bad marring on it. But it's a hell of a lot better than it was, so we'll see how it does. Chisel, nice and sharp. Such a pleasure. Should have done this a while ago. Now we see the consequences of the timbers not being square. So I'm touching here and here. So that might need to get widened a touch, but you can see there. So what I'll do is scribe that distance, which looks like about 1/8. To, this is almost touching, so I'll scribe that because that's how the tenon wants to sit. So that's going to be a little bit wonky, but you can't get away with it unless you square up your timbers. That will push my strut or brace that way, which should even that up. And then this side looks like it'll go. So I'm gonna scribe that, cut it, and then this thing should go together. Not too bad for being out of square that far. Let's see here. Those seem to be always the trickiest. But that looks real tight. It's looking pretty good. I'd take an even gap over and, you know, tight on one end, so that's good. And that's pretty even as well. So apart from being out of square, not too bad. Good for width. These joints look pretty decent. I also think once I burn it, it will make those go away a little bit. That's probably the worst one. Unfortunately, it's on the garage or the driveway side. But what can you do? I'm gonna go buy a really long 1-inch bit so I pre-drilled the outsides, but I'm gonna put this under some real compression with ratchet straps and then drill those and drive dowels while it's under pressure. That should help it stick together.
Perfect.